Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking more about Jeremiah. If you recall, last week we heard about Jeremiah's call to be a prophet when he was very young. And in today's passage, we're going to be reading about how Jeremiah had passed on the message that Judah would be captured and Jerusalem would be destroyed by Judah's neighbor Babylonia. And he was imprisoned by the king, because the king didn't want to hear that they were going to be taken over, and Babylonia was going to take them over. So talk about punishing the messenger, right? So I am going to read you the passage about this. It's from Jeremiah chapters 31, verses 1 through 15. Jeremiah received the Lord's word in the 10th year of Judah's king Zedekiah. At the time, the army of the Babylonian king had surrounded Jerusalem, and the prophet Jeremiah was confined to the prison quarters in the palace of Judah's king. Judah's king Zedekiah had Jeremiah sent there after questioning him. "Why do you prophesy? This is what the Lord says. I'm handing this city over to the king of Babylon, and he will occupy it. And Judah's king Zedekiah will be captured and handed over to the king of Babylon. He will speak to the king of Babylon personally and see him with his very own eyes. And Zedekiah will be carried off to Babylon to live out his days until I punish him, declares the Lord. If you make a war against Babylonians, you will fail." So that was the message. Jeremiah said, "The Lord's word came to me. Your cousin Hanamel, Shallum's son, is on his way to see you. And when he arrives, he will tell you, 'Buy my field in Anathoth, for by law you are next in line to purchase it.' And just as the Lord had said, my cousin Hanamel showed up at the prison quarters and told me, 'Buy my field in Anathoth in the land of Benjamin, for you are next in line and have family obligation to purchase it.' Then I was sure this was the Lord's doing. So I bought the field in Anathoth for my cousin Hanamel and weighed out for him 17 shekels of silver. I signed the deed, sealed it, had it witnessed, and weighed out the silver on the scales. Then I took the deed of purchase, the sealed copy with its terms and conditions, and the unsealed copy, and gave it to Barak before my cousin Hanamel and the witnesses named in the deed, as well as before the Judeans who were present in the prison quarters. I charged Barak before all of them. The Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, proclaims, take these documents, the sealed deed of purchase along with the unsealed one, and put them into a clay container so they will last a long time. The Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, proclaims, houses, fields, and vineyards will again be bought in this land." So Jeremiah made a choice here, right? What was that choice? He chose to purchase this land, that was about to be overtaken by the Babylonians, which doesn't seem to make much sense, does it? But when in the very end, with the very last line of this passage, the Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, proclaims, houses, fields, and vineyards will again be bought in this land. So the point being, Jeremiah had a vision of a time again when they would be able to live on this land again. He trusted in God's promise for a future of Israel. And so that's why he bought this land. And others may have thought that he was a fool. Why are you buying land that's about to be taken over by the Babylonians? But he was remembering tomorrow. So the title of this lesson, right? He was thinking, so remembering sort of refers to the past. So how can you remember tomorrow? So it's said that when Martin Luther was asked about what he would do if the world were ending tomorrow, he replied he would plant a tree. And this sort of goes along with the idea of remembering tomorrow. Because the world's going to end, there's going to be tomorrow. Planting a tree is something that needs time to grow. So that's a way of remembering tomorrow. He's thinking about the future, and it's about having faith in the future and that there is going to be a future. In this reading, Jeremiah decided to buy a plot of land. The Babylonian army is camped at the gates of Jerusalem, and everyone knows it's only a matter of time before the city falls. And Jeremiah is shut up in prison because he predicts that the Babylonians will win. And so the king considers him a traitor. Yet in this really detailed business transaction that's recorded in the Bible, Jeremiah buys a piece of land and has the deed duly witnessed and filed away for posterity. So it's, of course, it's not just a family matter, or it's just not Jeremiah speculating on some land that he gets cheap to make money off of later. He's taking this action and doing so really publicly from prison to affirm everyone that the future still matters, despite the terrible threat that is facing the people from the Babylonians. So the action symbolizes, in a very practical manner, that there's still a future there, right? That he's buying this land to say, okay, right now we're facing this threat, but I'm buying this land because I have faith that I will be able to work that land again. And so it's symbolizing that the same God who predicted people's downfall, that Jeremiah brought that message, that same God also guarantees the people's future return to that land. And so you could say God is remembering tomorrow, because remembering tends to be something about the past. It's remembering that no, there is a future ahead of us, and thinking about that future and making choices based on having that future. So Jeremiah was making the choice to buy this land because he had faith in the future. So we live in difficult times, and a lot of people often, especially with the pandemic and everything else that's gone on in the past few years, a lot of people often feel hopeless about the future. Just like people felt hopeless in Jeremiah's day in Judah. So what sort of things today make people feel hopeless? Maybe getting sick, coming down with, especially at the beginning of it, coming down with COVID when it all started. Among the elderly, it could be a pretty serious thing. Among anyone, it could be a pretty serious thing. Other things having to do with climate change. It's sort of scary, right? To think of what could happen to our world with everything getting out of whack with our environment because of climate change. So think about other things that might make people feel hopeless. But the flip side, think about what Jeremiah did to show his faith in the future. He bought this land. He put his faith in the future by buying this land. And you can make your choices too to have a belief in the future, and having that faith and hope in the future. That can affect your choices. So, and some people, just like some people in Jeremiah's time, might have thought his choice to buy land was sort of foolish because Babylonia is attacking us. Why are you buying land? And the same thing is same thing is true for people today. When you make a choice that is based on your faith, your beliefs, that can be misunderstood by other people. But it's so important to make those choices based on your beliefs and faith. So what are ways that you can make choices based on your faith in the future? Actually, here, I'll give you one example, of a sort of silly example of this, of when people may not agree with the choices that you make that have to do with sort of who you are and what your beliefs are. I don't eat red meat, and for a couple of reasons, both for health reasons, but also just for environmental reasons. And someone was sort of good-naturedly mostly, but giving me a hard time, like, oh, but it's so good. And so this person sort of didn't agree. This person really likes to eat meat and has had this whole like surf and turf dinner planned. And I'm like, no, sorry, I'm not going to do the red meat. And she didn't agree with me, but that's a choice that I make because I believe in the future, because I want to have my own personal future, right? In terms of staying healthy, that I like have a picture of me being old and still being able to do lots of the things that I like to do now, and I want to have that future, but also from the environmental perspective of having faith in the future of our environment around us and try to make a choice that will help that. So I think about other ways that you could show your faith in the future. One example I can give you is think about school, right? Why do you go to school? It's nice to see your friends and play sports, and it's good to learn things just for learning's sake. But by going to school, what you're really doing is thinking about your future, right? You're making the choice. Well, you're sort of making the choice to go to school. Your parents are making the choice to send you to school. And you're agreeing with that, and choosing to go to school and to learn and to work hard in school. Those are choices you make, right? To study and try to do well and to learn things so that eventually you'll be well situated to have a good job, go to college if you wish, use your knowledge, and really just by learning and having education, you can just have a better place in the world and more to offer the world in the future, in whatever way, whether it's your job or other things that you do in life in the future. So, and that is a way of, so by thinking about that, making choices today that can help us and help others around us in the future, that is a way of remembering tomorrow. So that is it for today. I will be gone. I'm going to Newfoundland. It's going to be lots of fun. And I think I'll be missing actually 2 weeks of Sunday school lessons, so Seaside sessions. So I will see you again in 3 weeks. Have a great time in the meantime. Bye.